My name is Jenna MacPhee. I am completing this video to fulfill a public engagement project requirement for the class Halifax in the World at Dalhousie University. We were asked to engage the public about an event or place to reflect on Halifax and the world. I wanted to inform the public of the history and importance of the beautiful Victorian era public gardens that are in the center of the city of Halifax. The transformation of the gardens began in 1836 with the establishment of the Nova Scotia Horticulture Society. The society was under the advocacy of Joseph Howe, who was a politician and a journalist in Halifax. Howe wished to have a garden for the society from public donations and grants from legislature. With these efforts, in 1841, a 5.5-acre piece of the Halifax Commons was provided to the society free of charge. The cost of running the People's Garden, as it became known as, was overwhelming after a decade of being opened. It needed to find ways to support itself. In 1866, another politician, John McCulloch, created the first city-owned public garden on a 2-acre piece of wasteland, which was adjacent to an artificial pond and the Nova Scotia Horticulture Society's garden. McCullough's inspiration for the design came from a trip to Paris after falling in love with the public square. The public garden officially opened in 1867 by Chief Justice Sir William Young. McCullough's successor, William Barron, set his sights on having the city purchase the People's Garden, which was owned by the Nova Scotia Horticulture Society. Barron eventually combined it with the adjoining public garden. Richard Power was hired in 1872 to create harmony within the public gardens, which included the planting of 2,000 trees which were taken from the Nova Scotia Horticulture Society's nursery. The layout of the public garden today was based off of Power's original design. The bandstand within the public gardens was created in 1887 to commemorate Queen Victoria's Golden Jubilee. The bandstand was designed by German-born Henry Bush, who was a Halifax resident. The bandstand is the literal and figurative heart of the public gardens, which occupies the center of the amalgamated gardens. After the bandstand was built in 1887, the estate of Sir William Young donated 3 concrete statues and 6 urns from his own gardens. The 3 statues consisted of 3 goddesses, the first one being Ceres, the Roman goddess representing agriculture and fertility, the second, Flora, the goddess of flowers and spring, and the third, Diana, the goddess of woodland and wild animals. Diana was removed after it was vandalized, however, from the gardens. The 6 urns were placed around the bandstand within the geometric beds and were recast in 2014 from the originals and placed back into the gardens within the same year. The main gate, which welcomes visitors into the public gardens, are ornate wrought iron gates which bear the coat of arms of the city of Halifax, E. Marie Marcis, meaning wealth from the sea. They were originally purchased from Scotland for the Arch Pavilion, which was the main entry point into the gardens in 1890. In 1907, the gates were moved to their present location at the southeast corner of the gardens, when the perimeter wrought iron fence was installed. The Victoria Jubilee Fountain was added to the gardens in 1897 to mark Queen Victoria's Diamond Jubilee. It is a classical style with a Corinthian column rising from a heavy formal basin to support the mythological maiden Algeria. Algeria is the name of a female advisor or counselor. She is surrounded by 4 water babies who are riding sea serpents. The Boer War Memorial Fountain was erected in 1903 to commemorate the service of Canadian soldiers in the South African War. The figure at the top of the fountain was modeled from a photograph of a local Canadian mounted rifleman. He is supported on a Corinthian capital surrounded by 4 cranes standing amid daffodils. Within the gardens there are 2 bridges, known as the Upper and Lower Bridges. The bridges were built in 1911 to replace the wooden bridges which cross the stream and ponds. Both are made of concrete, with elaborate railings and concrete urns on the 4 corner pedestals. The upper bridge has a slightly arched deck, and the lower bridge is flat. The upper bridge has a plaque commemorating the bravery of Inspector Francis Fitzgerald, a Haligonian and member of the Royal Northwest Mounted Police. Inspector Fitzgerald was part of a team leading a patrol of men from Fort McPherson to Dawson City, which is about 1,000 miles away. The group had 3 sleds and 15 sled dogs. About a week into the journey, they hit trouble, missing the trail to Dawson City. One man, Carter, believed he knew the way, but he was wrong, and they were lost. The men suffered and were forced to eat their transportation, the sled dogs. Fitzgerald kept track of the horrible events, and knowing he might soon freeze to death, wrote a will. He left all his money in his dispatch bag and bank, clothes, etc., to his mother, Mrs. John Fitzgerald of Halifax. He knew all was lost, and his last thought was to support his mother. He was hailed a hero across Canada and is cemented in history on the upper bridge in the public gardens. Griffin's Pond is a man-made pond that is named after a young Irishman who was hanged on its banks and whose murder conviction was questioned after his death. The pond was once part of a natural water course, which was freshwater brook, that flowed through the gardens. The pond in the gardens also became infamous in the 19th century as a place where mothers who could not afford to feed nor clothe their newborn babies left the bodies of their dead infants. Since 1994, a model of the Titanic makes its summer anchorage on Griffin's Pond. Displaying model ships in Victorian gardens has been a long-standing tradition, which the public gardens have upheld. Once known as the Swan Enclosure, it has been home to swans and geese since King George V donated the first pair of swans to the public gardens in 1926. After the death of Horatio in 2008, who was the last surviving swan, Flora and Finnegan, a pair of Toulouse geese, became the new residents of the bird enclosure. Finnegan died suddenly, leaving Flora alone, but she soon got a new companion with her now good friend Diana. During the winter months, the birds are kept at a wildlife sanctuary. The Agave americana blooms once in their 25-year life cycle. It has been kept in the greenhouse during the winter months, but in the spring of 2018, it was almost killed. In April, it was wrapped in a tarp with white lights to keep it warm, as it was put on display in the Halifax Public Gardens in the spring. However, 2018 was the year of the agave, as it bloomed in July for all of the public to admire.